Hi, good morning. I'm glad there's lots of conversation and energy and enthusiasm in the room, and I hope that level of energy will continue through the day. I'm Ellie Kutz. I'm the faculty liaison for Educational Technology, IT, here at UMass Boston. And I'm going to make just a couple of general announcements and then introduce our opening speakers. This morning, you have a program in your folder. I'm sure you've already had a chance to look at it. There are several other things in your folder. There's a piece of information about tweeting during the conference and how to do that. So if you would like to do that, we'd invite you to do it. There's also a piece about an iPads in the classroom project that we have. There's a long schedule with descriptions of all of the sessions, and there's a one-page program that'll give you a quick look at what's going on. All of the rooms are in this building on the lower level, the third floor, the fourth floor, and up here. And I just need to announce one correction. In the long program, session 1.6, Dickens and Wells, listed the room as being on the fourth floor, but it's really on the third floor. The short program's correct. So I hope everybody has a wonderful day. It will also be program evaluations, and we'll be sending you an after the conference program evaluation, so we hope that you will fill out program evaluations and let us know after the conference as well how we did and what we might do better next year. I'd like to start by introducing Anna G., who's our Vice Provost for ANC IO and multiple titles. She's the big boss for the whole EdTech world here.
Thank you, Ellie. So it's my great pleasure to welcome you here. This is one of the events that I look forward to every year. As many of you know, I got my start in higher education as a faculty member in the English department, and I remember fondly all my years of teaching, so I always look forward to the opportunity to see what our teachers are doing. First of all, I want to express my thanks to the committee members, and I'll tell you who they are, and then you can join me in thanking them. Mark Lewis, Ellie Kutz, Vivian Zammel, Linnell Thomas, Camille Martinez, Mary Simone, Carolyn Capuccio, Kim Miller, Eileen McMahon, Irene Yukaninoff, Jason Campos, Jean Schwab, Carlos Labato, and Apurva Mehta. Thank you very much. I also want to express our thanks to our sponsors who have made it possible to offer this to you, Dell, Pearson, Follett, and Macmillan. So please join me in thanking the sponsors. And I also want to excuse me, acknowledge our partners within the university, our friends at the University Library, at University College, at the Center for Innovation and Teaching. Have I missed anybody else? Yeah, okay. So it's very important, and it's been very helpful to us to be able to collaborate with other parts of the university to bring in more perspectives on this. We have several important projects this year that you're going to be hearing about. One I noticed on the slides there is our ePads in the classroom and our eBook project. So you'll have an opportunity, if you haven't already, to submit proposals for how you might like to think about using iPads as a learning tool. The other big project that we're working on is our upgrade to Blackboard 9, which we'll be rolling out in the fall for some of our faculty. And finally, I want to mention our collaboration with the library in the MISO survey, which many of you participated in and gave us great feedback on how we're doing in supporting instruction. And also the liaison program, which Ellie works in, which we collaborate with the library. And finally, I want to remind you to tweet during the conference, because I love to follow the Twitter feed. So So please enjoy the day. I hope you get a chance to hear many of the wonderful sessions on the program. So welcome.
Thank you, Anne. Vivian Zammel, Director of the Center for Innovative Teaching.
It's all right. Symbolically, it's really interesting, and that I noticed that you had your iPad from which you were talking, and I've got my trusty. You see this? So this is why we work so well together, you know. So I too want to thank everybody who was involved in the planning of today's conference. I also want to thank the sponsors. I'm not going to go through the same list that Anne just went through. And I wanted to welcome all of you here to the second annual joint conference sponsored by the Center for Innovative Teaching and Educational Technology. As many of you may remember, last year's conference was an experiment of sorts, an innovation, if you will, that came about because a snowstorm in January pushed us to think about trying out this joint venture. It's interesting that, as is the case with much innovation, it was such unpredictable conditions and things that we couldn't really control that led to the serendipitous circumstances of this particular conference. And I think that a lot of things that happen in this way that we can't anticipate do happen because of unanticipated conditions. Our experience last year convinced us that there was much to gain by the excitement and synergy that were created when the two constituencies represented by CIT and educational technology came together. What resulted last year, and what you'll see in today's program, is a reflection of the ways in which the mission and goals of CIT and EdTech have fueled and infused one another. We've come to see that what can happen when we go beyond the ways in which we typically operate, when we think outside of our boxes and disciplinary boundaries, when we take risks and test out a different approach, when we are engaged in work that we view as important, when we collaborate together on a joint and common project, and in the process, create something completely new and unanticipated. It can't have escaped you that the ways in which I've characterized the joint project that we've been involved in, today's conference, reflects the very goals to which we are committed. Classrooms where teachers and learners are encouraged to think outside of the box, where experimentation and risk-taking are promoted, where collaboration is central to productive and meaningful work, and where innovation and transformation on the part of both teachers and learners are inextricably linked. I'm hoping as well that these ways of thinking about teaching and learning reflect the experiences that you will have today in your sessions. So thank you for coming, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.
Next, Winston Langley, our provost.
Good morning to all. And thanks to Ellie and Anne and Vivian. I am very pleased to be here and to know that we have indeed been able to bridge some of what the Center for Innovative Teaching is doing and what our educational technology suggests to us, and that they too will be operating in the future to elevate what we do here in the area of learning and teaching. Primarily to integrate what we do, certainly to examine what we do, but also, and for me most important, to engage in common learning and teaching, learning with one another, learning from one another, and preparing the basis on which we can collectively and individually improve what we do. That should be the essential task of the university. But I'm not going to speak with you in that vein this morning, because that happens to be the task of others. And I don't see the Chancellor, but I know he'll be here to speak with you. I want to congratulate you on the rich program you have prepared for the day, and I'm certain that it will serve as a basis to inform each of us. I wanted to say something about Vivian, who is stepping down as director of CIT after 10 years of work in that capacity, and how she has, over the years, been the organizer of our annual CIT conference, now what we understand as our combined EdTech and CIT conference, in organizing the semester-long CIT seminars, now will be CIT Ed seminars, that address concerns of our junior faculty, helping them to navigate the path toward tenure, to balance their teaching, service, and scholarly activities, but also to respond to the faculty at large, all of whom are generally interested and need some help in matters dealing with the scholarship of teaching, matters dealing with the role of technology in improving how we go about our teaching, matters of engaging in the continuing conversations that should characterize our principal focus on learning and teaching. She's also been a key contributor in organizing forums having to do with the New England Consortium for Inclusive Teaching, in which we look at teaching at many different levels. That perhaps what happens in the high school and what happens in the junior college might have something to do with what we do in four-year colleges and universities, and indeed in research universities. Certainly, there's much to be said on that, and many, many may learn from us in that respect. Vivian herself, of course, you know, is an outstanding teacher. I think that was at least publicly acknowledged recently by a chancellor's recognition for outstanding teaching. We know of her scholarship, Crossing the Curriculum, I think 2004, in which she speaks to us and speaks to teachers generally and gives expression to multiple voices on this campus and elsewhere, telling us something about learning on the part of those who must deal with the multilingual, as it were. I think the world in which we find ourselves, in which the linguistic borders have become a bit more intimate, much is to be learned from our effort, from our scholarship, from our teaching, and from our practice. Then, a number of us here today have benefited from our efforts. So I think it is particularly fitting that we acknowledge and express our gratitude for the work she has done. Ellie Kurtz, let us.
Take this from your podium. grateful for those generous words, but I do want to say that the work of CIT that you've described would not be possible without a very active advisory board and people who have led the seminars most recently. We are all indebted to them. So I'm very, very grateful, but I need to say that this is, again, collaborative effort, as I've mentioned before, and people like Denise Patman and Alexia Pollack in particular, who've coordinated the seminars most recently, need to be acknowledged. And Denise is going to be the incoming director of CIT, and I just wanted to make sure that I got the record straight on that.
And I certainly want to welcome Dennis to our new position and to say that I hope this conference will, in successive years, assume even a greater prominence regionally and, I hope, nationally in dealing with matters of learning and teaching. Thank you.
The Chancellor was supposed to be speaking next, and I assume that he is on his way, but I think we'll go ahead with our program. I did want to thank Daniel Ortiz, who's here from the library. I was trying to smush things together, so I didn't give everybody talking time this year. But thank you, Daniel, for coming, and I appreciate your support, as always, for this conference. And I'm always happy for our collaborations. So I think we will go ahead then with the keynote. Our keynote speaker today is Shirley Tang from Asian American Studies, and she's brought 3 of her students, whom I'll let her introduce. And they've been doing wonderful, rich work with media. The course is focused on media and literacy, but especially with digital storytelling, which is something that I myself have been very interested in exploring and seeing how to work with. So I'm really excited to have them share with us the work that they've been doing. Shirley?
Thank you so much, Ellie. Thank you so much, John. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'd like to thank the conference organizers, especially Dr. Linnell Thomas, Dr. Eleanor Coons, and also Dr. Vivian Zamo, for inviting me to speak with you today. The title of my talk is Media and Digital Literacy via Asian American Studies, Pedagogies of Wholeness. I want to quickly begin by referencing some issues faced by our students at UMass Boston. We know UMass Boston represents the region's urban public university. But what does that mean to faculty, staff, administrators, students, and their communities? Let's see some data. Okay. Oops. Actually, can I get some? I think I got the wrong one here. Is that you, Henry? Oh my God. Yeah, you guys have to come a little faster. Okay, stay there, stay there, stay there. Okay, these are some of the amazing students whom we see every day at our urban public university. Now you know who can dance. Thank you so much, thank you so much. We interact together in our classrooms, in the hallways, maybe even on Facebook. But how well do we know their real stories? Our students cannot simply be defined by statistical profiles or abstract theories. What issues do they face? What are their visions? How can we encourage and empower them in this digital era of teaching and learning? The cast of characters that you saw just now includes some of the 120 plus students and alumni who have in the past 8 years participated in a challenging curriculum via our Asian American Studies program. That is both private and very public. They have shared the high risks and rewards that are vital to what I call Asian American Studies pedagogies of wholeness. By clarifying the personally powerful stories through our Asian American Studies 370 Asian American Media Literacy course, they have also entered each other's family histories and lived experiences from different points of view across language, race and ethnicity, countries of origin, immigration statuses, religions, and sexual orientations. Together, these cohorts of daring, self-reflective individual storytellers have crafted images, sounds, and texts to show themselves. The individual products and collective processes, supported in part by accessible educational technology such as iMovie software, have been intense, inspiring, and extraordinary. Let's give our students another round of applause. And I know that a couple of the students have just arrived, and in fact, some of the students who took this class before, a few of them have become staff at UMass Boston, and they have actually just got here. So thank you so much for joining us, joining this wonderful audience to have this discussion about what educational technology is, what teaching is at UMass Boston. I'd like to briefly share with you some sources of my own motivation to teach digital storytelling. As many of you know, Asian Americans are often referred to as a model minority. This official story or dominant public narrative has so singularly focused on elites and the fortunate few who have achieved educational and economic success, that it hides and distorts the complex realities and critical challenges facing many segments of the population, who, as of 2010, continue to comprise the fastest growing racial group in the US. Flawed methods of data collection and interpretation for the past 3 decades, however, have repeatedly led to portrayals of Asian Americans as a homogeneous aggregate group, and marginalized important voices and perspectives from families and communities like those of our students. In contrast to this official story, however, Asian American visual artists and independent filmmakers since the 1970s, such as Christine Choi and Renee Tajima, have produced powerful counter-stories through their own inspiring narrative documentaries. Whether examining the Los Angeles uprising and the killing of Vincent Chin from 20 years ago, or post-9/11 racial profiling and the deportation of Cambodian refugees during the past decade, the work of these visual storytellers has helped to frame justice and equality for me as a teacher and as someone born and raised outside of this country. In fact, my commitment to digital storytelling is more deeply rooted in my own coming of age as an adolescent in Hong Kong, trying to make sense of the forced migration of refugees across the South China Sea after the war in Vietnam. At age 12, I watched the human drama of thousands of Vietnamese detained in Hong Kong refugee camps on the daily news. I did not engage with the political and economic discourses that fueled public debates during that period. Instead, I turned to and believed in a filmmaker, a young Hong Kong director named Anne Hui, who had then just finished her Vietnam trilogy, a series of 3 remarkable films made during the early 1980s that explored the displacement of refugees and portrayed the personal struggles for survival after escaping from Vietnam. Anne Hui later became one of the most critically acclaimed Hong Kong directors in the world. Her newest film, A Simple Life, recently swept numerous awards at the 2012 International Cannes Film Festival and opened here at the Boston Common Cinema just last month. But what I learned from Anne Hui 30 years ago is that visual storytelling has the power to put a human face on urgent social issues that otherwise seem distant, abstract, and ideological on the national and global stage. Both Anne Hui and the early generation of Asian American independent filmmakers showed how film, video, digital storytelling can effectively document, interpret, and share critical analyses from personal political points of view, particularly in the face of exclusionary or marginalizing media messages packaged by those in power. I'd like to show you 3 short examples of digital stories written, edited, and directed by students in the Asian American Media Literacy class. By using the personal, family, and community histories as sources, and by being their own research project, these students reflect publicly on many private issues and subjects, including suicide and depression, intergenerational and interracial dynamics, family migration and work, life and death. These 3 digital story products and 120 other stories from the past 8 years represent the culmination of students' research, reflections, and interactions throughout the semester. To open this.
Help, I have done it again. I have been here many times before, hurt myself again today. And the worst part is there's no one else to blame. Be my friend. Hold me, wrap me up, unfold me. I am small, and needy, warm me up, and breathe me. Feeling like I can't forgive, but I want to. like I don't know how to live. I'm afraid to. I used to think to take them as they come without hesitation. Now it's like my head is filled with lies and persuasions. As the sun begins to fall, I hear her calling out to me. She's saying, hurry, it's one more day gone. What I wouldn't give just to forget, so I can remember how to live again. I wanna live
I've always found it funny how others can find such comfort in the clothes they wear. How their clothes seem to fit them so well. How their clothes become how they identify, who they identify with, how they identify others. Whenever we walk down the street, we size people up, look them up and down, and sort them like laundry. Whites, colors, dry clean, machine washable. But instead, we sort people like this: jocks, rebels, thugs, nerds. Because in America, what you wear can say a lot. Dress to impress. Because what you wear can show what you have, what you don't have. where you fit in. But if that's the case, where do I fit in? Where does a second-generation Cambodian American fit in? How does a second-generation Cambodian American dress? Could you tell who I am by looking at these beat-up sneakers? My white tee? Or maybe my charcoal sweatpants? But no, you can't tell. To be honest, I don't even think I could tell. All I know is, no matter what I wear, nothing seems to fit. So where do I belong? A Cambodian American. Am I a Cambodian? I mean, I look like one. But I wasn't born there. I don't speak the language. And I don't wear the clothes. Am I an American? I was born here. I read, speak, and write in English. I vote, but I look different. I'm brown. Not brown like morning coffee. Brown like dirt roads my mom traveled barefoot to reach refugee camps. Brown like dried blood and scars etched into my father's flesh. Brown like the orbs of honey in my sister's eyes. I'm an outsider. Though I try to fit in, my feet cannot fill the shoes of expectations and obligations to my family. I try to fit into the status quo, only to find that membership is exclusive. Yeah, I try to fit in, but regardless of how many outfits I wear, or how many layers I put on, I still struggle to find my place. But I wish I could show you who I really am. Show you that once I shed back these layers of conformity, you might have a better understanding. A better sense of a story my clothes cannot convey. A better sense of me. This is who I am, regardless of how I dress or how I look. Whether I'm Cambodian enough or American enough. I'm a second-generation Cambodian American. My roots are firmly planted in American soil, just like America is deeply rooted within me.
2009 was a year like no other. It started off well. I had high expectations. In 2009, I was about to turn 21, and I was really looking forward to that. And also, it was my second year in UMass Amherst. But things went south. Tragedy struck my family and myself. In early 2009, my mom was laid off from work. This devastated all of us because she was our second source of stable income. So I had to find a way to help her get through this by helping her sign up for unemployment. It was tough. We then realized that my little brother Sam was failing high school. He was hanging around with a bad crowd of students, so I had to commute back to set him straight. This caused a lot of stress to the family and to myself because we have to see that Sam succeeds in life. As for my older brother, he was drafted in the Iraq War. This actually set the bar for everything because his safety was our #1 concern. We then found out that my grandma was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. This was incredibly difficult for the family and myself because my mom has countless of restless nights and I had to commute back and forth to help translate and interpret medical documents. With all this happening, I didn't think that this year can get any worse, but it did. It happened to my father. He was diagnosed with liver cancer and hepatitis B. When I heard this information, I was shocked. I didn't know what to do, so I had to sit down and talk with him one-on-one. 阿爸，點解你唔早啲講俾我哋聽嘅？咁我哋知道，我哋可能可以搞到呢個辦法。點解你日日都有呢種 cancer 唔通知你自己嗰啲家庭嘅？我知道嗰陣時嗰啲男人喺中國平時留低晒嗰啲嘢俾自己，不過呢個意思太大啊！你琴日都仲幾好啫，尋日你上個禮拜都仲返緊工。如果我哋冇同個醫生講，你會唔會講俾我哋聽嘅？我哋係講緊擔心你啫咩？我哋擔心你，所以你係我爸。佢望住我笑，講話唔係你哋要擔心我，係我做阿爸要擔心你哋啊！總之你繼續開胃，勤力啲讀書，同埋睇住我哋嗰啲親戚，咁我就會開心㗎喇。Shortly after he passed, I have always wondered how his life was as a sushi chef. So I put on his robe and gave it a try.
But I'm doing it. It's hard to force that smile when I see our old friends and I'm alone. Still harder getting up, getting dressed, living with this.
Next up, each one of these represents each part of my family. Myself, my mom, my little brother, my older brother, my grandma, and my father. My father's piece. Now here's one within me. He's now always with me now. I decided to construct a California roll because it was the first type of sushi that he made that I would eat. I was not a fan of raw fish.
Okay, so from these student products, I think it is clear that the core of my curriculum and pedagogy employs educational technology, but really centers on personal epistemology. Most students are using iMovie film production and editing software for the first time. Access and training with Mac laptops, video cameras, and good quality microphones are essential for us to provide. But far more important are the deep meaning-making course activities and classroom exercises that students experience in order to develop their narratives. The stories that are most important for them to clarify and compose. This reflects an awareness and integration in my own teaching and research of the many different forms of knowledge that coexist, and of the power of personal stories in transforming one's relationships to one's own inner well-being, as well as to others and to the world. This is, for me, a liberated way of thinking about knowledge and knowing, and fundamental to my practice of pedagogies of wholeness. With structured support to tap their internal capacities and creative potential, students begin to reveal more authentic, multifaceted imageries from their personal political lives. Students work closely with peer mentors and artists in residence, some of whom are here today, and you'll hear from them, to develop and deepen their stories. They also communicate with and listen to one another, engaging in empathetic and responsible dialogues about socioeconomic realities, racism, sexism, and heterosexism. Having the creative freedom to combine visual, oral, audio, and written histories, and to use their multilingual capacities without being restricted to written or verbal English-only sources is enriching and empowering for everybody, especially many English as another language students and non-traditional language learners who have otherwise often learned to feel that their voices and stories are not important, respectable, or academic. Something that Vivian has also talked about. The Asian American Media Literacy course was originally designed in the 1990s for students to examine the political and economic structures of mass media and critique the impact of dominant representations on individual psyches and group identities. Though an analysis of commercial, mainstream media consumption is essential to media literacy competence, I began to shift the emphasis of the course toward helping students to imagine alternative media constructions, rather than simply analyzing problems and criticizing stereotypes. Initially, this curricular shift simply entailed a greater focus on Asian American independent film content and student experimentation with narrative development through storyboarding on paper. Within a year or so, however, the rapidly expanding accessibility and convergence of multimedia tools, consumer electronics, and social networking platforms such as YouTube and Facebook enabled me to radically transform the course and wholeheartedly focus on using digital storytelling, research, and analysis to counter dominant media caricatures and mainstream cliches with students' own real-life real story products. Through this process, consumers become producers and achieved a new level of media literacy. Pedagogies of wholeness enable students to transform particular stories that have long been buried or shuffled away. Those private, mental movies or stories hidden within the head and heart into coherent, meaningful narratives. The real-life real stories from our students' private lives, including experiences of pain, trauma, and loss, are inherently part of larger historical and social contexts, whether or not the individuals are Asian Americans themselves. Because our students share experiences of inequality, marginalization, and resilience, they are able to reach each other's common humanity, but only after going deeply into the personal, unique, and private. This is an important step toward inspiring students to become more fully engaged, educationally, civically, and politically. Students and teachers' personal processing of pain through the crafting of stories and the sharing of such stories with each other collectively has long been a special quality of other courses offered by the Asian American Studies program, especially those that address refugee realities. My colleagues and I often refer to those teaching practices as pedagogies of PTSD, a phrase coined by Professor Peter Kiang. But the difference here is the added value of using educational technology in support of pedagogies of wholeness. Our students have interpreted their lived experiences from new points of view. What they produce and show in their digital stories actually changes who they are. And what we see in their work then changes each of us as well. Again, whether they are Asian American or not, this is some of what we do in Asian American Studies. To illustrate this final point, let me show a brief reflection by Tariana Veronica Little, who is actually with us today, who was one of the 20 students enrolled in Asian American Media Literacy this semester. Students exhibited their work publicly for the campus at our 8th annual Digital Storytelling Festival last Thursday, right in this room. Some of you were here. And also spoke about their learning process in the course. Tariana's mother came to the event, and she also speaks briefly in this excerpt from the event.
This class is special, and there's something different about this class. When the first few weeks, Shirley asked me to go in front of the class, and she had me talk about my picture, and I didn't want to cry. And I looked at you like, do not make me cry. I am not, and at that point I knew this class was going to be different, and then we were going to touch upon things that may be ugly or sad or things we don't want to always look at. And I'm glad that we all accomplished that. Thank you.
Tariana, could I ask you to share with us, if you don't mind, how was it watching this video with your family here with you?
It was a gift, actually, to have my mom here because she's somebody that I don't have much communication with about the topic I showed. And so to have her see that and all the hard work and the energy and the words that I have never told her and that I never told my stepfather, my papi, it was really special. And he's gone, but I know that through us, we were able to feel his presence and all that I wanted to say. So it feels really good.
Tariana's mother, would you like to say something? Don't feel you need to, but it'd be dope if you did.
Hi, my name is Santa. I'm Tariana's mother. I'm very proud of my daughter. I think I did a very good job. I have 2 more older daughters that I need to finish doing the same that I did with Tariana, help her to achieve her goal. So I'm very proud and a little emotional. Thank you.
Excuse me for a moment. The Chancellor is going to have to leave, and so before he takes off with his busy schedule, I ask you to just look in for a moment. I hate to interrupt.
You interrupted Shirley's great work to allow me, after tremendous follow-up from last year. I mean, I had the opportunity last year, Shirley, to sort of do this, but it was nothing like what you've done today.
This class is special. There's something different about this class. When the first few weeks, Shirley asked me to go in front of the class, and she had me talk about my.
You know, I know nothing about that, but I did bring my iPad to at least act like I know what I'm doing today, because my secret weapon is standing in the back looking at me. Chancellor, you're supposed to have that not on papers, not on books. If you have notes, write them on something like this. See, it's here. Now, I can't promise you I'll say what's here, but it's actually on this particular pad today. Are you proud of me? Thank you. Listen, first of all, thanks to everybody for being here today. I want to thank the Center for Innovative Teaching. I want to thank Daniel Ortiz and the members of the library, all of the folk who, the staff in IT and educational technology, but also everyone here today for inspiring us. You know, Shirley, I walked in and I was teasing you about this, but you know I wanted to be there last week, and those people that are standing against the wall trying to drag me out of here now had me somewhere else in the country. And so I'm so glad I got a chance to see the three, because I look forward to that every year. I also want to thank you, Ellie, for always getting me here for this event. It allows for me to understand what's going on. It helps me in my class that happens the Monday after commencement, 3 weeks in a row, 4 days a week, 3 hours a day, and I love it, I love it, I love it. And last year I was able to show off my classes and my students here as you're doing today. And so I'm so grateful for that. I also want to thank the provost, because I know he eloquently came up here, and I know he talked about our great professor, Vivian, in a way that no one else could. So Vivian, thank you for all that you continue to do. You know that when I put that medal on your neck last year at commencement, I told you how much you mean to this university, how much you mean personally to me. Someone who, from the time I walked on this campus and understood it a little bit, back 10 years ago now, I got it once I came across people like yourselves who committed yourselves to this work and tirelessly do what all of you do. Go in the classroom, serve our wonderful, talented students that many are among us today, and then understand how that is your gift to the future. How that gift that you give lives on beyond you in the hearts and minds and souls of those individuals who take it to the future for you. So you continue to teach your faces off, you continue to grow and develop as human beings, but also that transmits into the classroom in this technology search that we're all on, this journey together is an amazing thing, and you understand it, so you work hard at it, and you're spending today, the day after classes are over, doing it. And I'm so proud and happy and grateful to you for that. And so thank you from the bottom of my heart for it. I know the provost said earlier, and that I must have been stuck in traffic. No, I was stuck in the cafeteria down in Quinn with Maria, who, if you know her, she's the one who serves us all, but is a wonderful colleague and friend down there, thinking I had to be up here at 9 o'clock. And when I walked in, I was embarrassed because I thought I was early. And I apologize for that. So, you know, the truth is the truth. But I wanted to be here on time, thought I was on time, and then the provost reminded me, Chancellor, you're not on time. You know, I was supposed to introduce you, but you need no introduction. Your work speaks for itself. What you've done in your journey here at this institution has been amazing. I'm honored to have been able to sign some little piece of paper that allows you to go on and work here as long as you want to. And so, you know, so I'm so, so I'm so grateful. So anyway, thank you all for today. I'm sorry to interrupt you. It would have been sad to have to walk out of here without at least saying hello to you, and also saying how much I'm looking forward to commencement. I hope that you are. Some of my dear friends, this means that their journey here goes to a different phase. As I look around the room, I see some of them as they go off to what they think has retirement in the future, but it has a small R as far as I'm concerned, because you're welcomed here at your university to help and to be a part of this wonderful place as long as you want to be. So thank you, thank you, thank you all. Shirley, sorry to interrupt you, but thank you. You know I didn't want to at least, I wanted to at least say hello and let you know how proud I continue to be of you and your work, your students, this university, and all that we're doing together here. And I know she's just an example of what's happening throughout this community, so thank you for that, right? So take care, everybody, and I'll see you soon.
In fact, I'm going to invite the students to speak. Yes, yes. No problem, yes. Anything that happens in our classes at UMass Boston, so it is not at all a problem. So I just wanted to, and this is actually really good. We have Tariana, we have Tariana's mother, we have Chancellor Keith Motley, and now we have some students. I've invited 3 individuals to say a few words about their experience with the 370 class. So Chu? Yes.
Good morning. I'm the first student speaker. My name is Chu Huang, with a double major in sociology and Asian American studies, and was also honored as Champion of Change winner of the 2012 White House Initiative on Asian American and Pacific Islanders Video Challenge. Thank you. I'm very glad I had the opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. last month to present and discuss my video on the experiences of immigrant high school students. I was raised in Boston, Chinatown, and have gone through the public education system here, from elementary school into college. I learned a lot from my courses here at UMass Boston and took away useful skills to plug into other areas of my life. I gained interest in media making through my Asian American media literacy course. It is where I learned how to create my first digital story. It is also in this course where I learned to use digital storytelling to effectively deliver strong and powerful messages about our communities to the public. I am currently a coordinator of the Chinese Immigrant Student Leadership Program, a new collaboration between the Boston Chinatown Neighborhood Center and Charlestown High School, funded in part by the Hyams Foundation. The site where desegregation and busing of Asian immigrant students took place in Boston during the 1970s. Charlestown High School continues to be a school where immigrant Asian students attend today. The experiences and perspectives of these English language learners and working class immigrant students are often marginalized in what Shirley has referred to as the dominant public narrative. I made the video to show the entire country the stories of these young people, what their struggles are, what conditions they endure. Many parents were glad to have this rare opportunity to see their children's success and to express their pride. We were also told that our video story had been presented to the White House committee that deals with issues facing immigrant students. As the demographics of our country changes, I hope the Asian American Studies program and UMass Boston can continue to find ways to help more people access the stories of this new generation of young people in the digital age. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chu. Congratulations again on your White House Video Challenge. The next speaker is Pratna. Pratna, can you say a few words?
Hello. Hi, everyone. I hope my dance at the beginning didn't cement your impression of me. So I'm just going to talk about my creative process in the video that was shown and my experience as a TA and my aspirations to be a high school English teacher. So in my video, the purpose was to show very simple visuals with more concentration on my narration, which was important for me to set up this metaphor of clothing to express a sense of conformity and belonging, while also making the story specific to my struggles as a Cambodian American, which was shown through the idea of the brown skin which can't be shed. In the same sense, the experiences and struggles of my family cannot be stripped away, because we are a product of this brownness, just like our experiences in the US are products of genocidal and refugee experiences. Needless to say that the creative process is a big part of this class, not just for the creation of media, but for the reflective process and how it heals our students. Having been a student and a TA in this class, I have to say that this is a unique class with profound impacts. I've seen students whose normal routine is to come to class and go home become the students that stay the latest and work the hardest. And I've seen students who don't say more than 3 words in other classes become the most talkative in our classes. There's a community being built in this one class that can't be easily found in commuter schools such as UMass Boston. And not only that, but the students are also becoming empowered in reclaiming their voice, and in the process internalizing these values of community building and reclaiming voice. This is not by accident. Students going through this process of finding voice and empowerment, build emotional capacities for themselves, and allow their classmates to empathize with their classmates and struggles. And after being a witness to the impacts on the students, I plan to take what I've learned and adapt it to a urban public high school curriculum. I don't know how, but you guys know how that is, right? But I'll figure something out. This type of class is not just important because of the friendships that are formed and the media skills being taught, but because of what those things imply. This is a class that stresses the importance of building community and rejecting mainstream media stereotypes while producing real life, real stories, as Shirley says. 2 skills that are needed in our urban public schools because these are the tools that foster strong student leadership and community. And that's it. Thank you
so much, Pratna. The video that you saw earlier, let me make sure I say this right. Pratna's digital story, Where I Fit, the one that you saw, he submitted that to the 2011 Shortwave Film Competition sponsored by the Boston Asian American Film Festival and was awarded first prize. So. Finally is G Kwok. G, would you mind saying a few words? Many of you actually know G. G is the one full-time staff in the Asian American Studies program. He coordinates CAPE, the Coalition for Asian Pacific American Youth, which supports the Asian American high school youth in Boston. And he also provides invaluable support for our undergrad students in Asian American Studies, especially in his role as the artistic co-instructor for our Asian American media literacy class.
Thank you. Since I have your attention, can I ask why you educators have to do everything so early in the morning? All right. So, as Shirley mentioned earlier about the film Boat People, my family are actual refugees from Vietnam, and we escaped through boat in around the 1980s. My father, we came alone because my father died actually before I was even born, so I never had a chance to meet him or know him. So we faced our struggles in the U.S. with poverty and racism and exclusion alone. It was me, my mom, my brother, and my sister. I had, to say the least, an up and down primary school career, ranging from honor roll Alice Casey Award to Boston Latin School to failing junior year to dropping out. And at the suggestion of a teacher I had that thought a stronger challenge would make me perform better, he suggested I attend UMass Boston, get my GED and attend UMass Boston, and that's what I did. But at the time, I was still dealing with the personal difficulties and distractions related to my family experience and growing up a young male of color in the U.S. But with the lack of support to deal with these types of things, I struggled in my classes, and the majority of time, or many times, wasn't even able to complete the courses. And as you all know, incompletes become Fs if they're not dealt with. So my transcript, to say the least, is not very pretty. But I've been working, I really feel at home at UMass and its community, especially in the Asian American Studies department. And I have been working with CAPE and the Asian American Studies department for the last 15 years. But through that whole time, I hadn't considered coming back and finishing my degree until this year. So I've started taking classes again, but frankly, the university didn't make it easy for me to return. And this is when I returned, when I thought I was ready, motivated, and determined to get my degree. The reality was, when I returned, I was viewed as my transcript, my GPA. And when you look at it, like I said before, it doesn't make a great candidate. But to view me for something that happened over 20 years ago without the understanding of the whole of the story is something we should really consider whether we want this university to be in that way. And I feel like no one outside of, or no one was really evaluating my transcript, really understood me or my specific story, not just someone who had dropped out and coming back. Well, some of you may already know that UMass Boston has been designated as an ANAPISI. ANAPISI, let me try to read this is kind of, always forget. Asian American, Native American, Pacific Islander Serving Institution. And that's a great thing. Peter, Pat, and Shirley, and all the other faculty and staff are working really hard to increase the number of Asian Americans that are enrolled and graduate from UMass. And my family is doing its part. My sister is actually taking her last class here at UMass Boston, and coincidentally with Shirley, well, maybe not coincidentally, she was not able to finish her degree earlier in her life because, you know, young woman trying to support a family, trying to grow up and all that kind of stuff, but she's graduating this fall in May with a major in business management. My nephew is a student here at UMass Boston, and a couple of years ago, he took this Asian American Studies 370 class, and he's not a great student, all right? But that class has the kind of impact where he wanted to volunteer and be a supporting, let me see if I find the official title for him. Excuse me. Media lab assistant this year, supporting students with the technology they're using, as well as sharing his experience on developing the story. So at some point, he's gonna graduate, maybe in a year or two. At some point, I will graduate. I have no idea when. And when we all do, we will all be a part of this ANAPISI number. And we're very proud to be part of that. But I also have to wonder, when this all happens, will anybody outside of the Asian American Studies program really know our stories, our real stories, or what it took for us to get a degree? And to wrap things up, I rarely talk about my own family history, story, my struggles with school and being a refugee, but I'm here talking to everyone here today because Shirley made me. But like everything else Shirley does, it comes with a lot of support, and it's a reflection of how the 370 class works. She continues to push the students to put themselves out there, which is by no means easy. These stories are really hard to tell, even to friends and family, but to put it out there for everyone to see. So I might never create one of these videos, but for now, at least I can support the students that do. Support them with the technology information I have, the cultural competency that I have. And I believe what we're trying to do is really, really important. And there's not enough of it being done. So the least we can do is our little part in making sure it happens. Thank you.
We're running over a little bit, but I think we certainly need to have a moment or two to ask if people would like to ask a question to Shirley or to her students before we move on. Are there some questions that people have? Or comments?
Well, I'll just say something. I mean, one of the things, Shirley, congratulations, first of all. This is amazing. What struck me so much about this in the presentations last week when I went to them is that we sometimes erroneously think about technology as being this distant clinical thing that's out there, that, you know, there's a skill and, you know, it's used for purposes that are really very far removed from the most intimate, touching and moving ways from our lives. But what you've clearly demonstrated, which is what I love so much about this work, is that technology is wedded to such personal stories and intimate stories that would never have been told otherwise, that it really suggests that it can be used to fuel these kinds of acceptance of oneself and your, being able to voice what it is that you never would have otherwise voiced. So it's amazing that it's happening this way.
Great, thank you. That seems like a wonderful comment to end with, but if somebody, I don't want to shut anybody. I too find it just absolutely amazing, Shirley. I love this work, and I thank you so much for bringing it to us and sharing it with us today. And thank you to Shirley's students. It's been great to, from the dancing to the discussions or the comments on your own experiences. It was all just really wonderful. It was very kind of you to come and do this. We're going to move on to our sessions now, and